Everyone good to go?
Yes.
All good.
Excellent. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are joining us from. Welcome to the inaugural Metaverse Summit presented by GDA Capital. My name is Tory, Ricalis, and I have the absolute pleasure of presenting and moderating this esteemed panel. I'm interested to hear their insight on our topic, investing in virtual real estate. This is just a reminder to our audience. We do have a live chat, and we do encourage you to ask your questions, which we will take some time to answer at the end of the discussion. A brief background on myself. I have been an investor in the metaverse and virtual real estate space since early 2018, getting my feet wet with Decentraland, and I have since purchased virtual real estate within Crypto Voxels and Sandbox. I've been involved in crypto space for almost a decade, and consequently that has progressed into an unhealthy obsession with NFTs and the metaverse. With that being said, enough from me. I'd like to introduce our rockstar guests. If you could each kindly share a brief on your background, what you do, and what brought you into the metaverse and virtual real estate space. Yael, if you could kindly start us off.
Thank you, Tory. I'm Yael Tamar, CEO and co-founder of Solidblock. We're the leader in the tokenization space. We were first in the space for real estate, for real estate, and now we're very excited to start with the virtual real estate on different metaverses, because mainly it's driven by our clients. So there's a lot of interest in this space, and I can't wait to talk to you guys about how this is relevant, where it's going to go, kind of speculate, and develop the industry together.
Fantastic. Hrish, if you mind just giving us a brief background on yourself, please.
Sure. So, it's interesting. My career started in real estate investment banking at UBS in New York. Went from there to venture capital, investing across tech and biotech in New York and in Europe. And then was early at a talent platform called TopTal, backed by Andreessen Horowitz. I was the first biz dev there. And about 6 years ago, started Rogue Initiative Studios, which is a film, television, gaming, and virtual reality studio in Hollywood. My co-founder did Call of Duty. My other partner is Michael Bay, the action director. And so we worked on cross-platform franchises. And that's what got me to Superworld, which, Pokemon Go came out, kind of showed us that you could add content in the real world and make it very compelling. And we thought, why not enable anyone to create, discover, and monetize anything, anywhere, and own the world?
Fantastic. Lorne.
Sure. So I similar to Hrish, was an investment banker, actually a technology investment banker when in the 1990s, when the internet first came to life, or so to speak, came to life, and all the initiatives began. And so got to see that. And left and ran a health tech business for a number of years. And in the summer, a good friend of mine reached out to me, the CEO of tokens.com, Andrew Kegel, and asked me if I was interested in joining the Metaverse group and getting involved in creating some amazing experiences, immersive experiences, and owning land and NFTs across the various metaverses. And after watching, frankly, my kids and their interactions with all the different stuff, and I pick on my son every day with Grand Theft Auto and the experiences he's trying to get to. I just felt this is the future, and so had to get involved. So really excited to be part of it.
Oh, and welcome to you all, and very happy to have you all on board here and discussing investing in virtual real estate with us today. Lorne, it's funny that you bring that up in GTA and kind of the concept of metaverse you touch on briefly there. It is an old idea in the sense that they've existed, through gaming, through massively online systems and worlds. And what we're seeing now is just a more, pinpointed progression through the Web3 system, and just, allowing everyone to kind of be involved through the integration of NFTs. So it's quite special, and it is quite interesting for sure. So what I'd like to do is kind of, over the last year or so, we've seen the 4 largest metaverses eclipse $501 million in investment, and it's projected to surpass $1 billion this year. Many investors are currently feeling left out, and the main question I often get asked is, how does one get involved in the metaverse, and which metaverse do I select? Now, Lorne, I'd like to get your input on that.
Sure. So, I mean, obviously there are several metaverses out there. They all have unique and different experiences. And we, the Metaverse Group, have been investing in several different metaverses. So Decentraland is obviously the earliest, back in 2017, and probably has the largest user base at this point, and is active and live. So it feels to me like more like a community, more like a Facebook alternative, and I think it's going to have huge success. You have the Sandbox, which is another great one. Feels more like a game, a Minecraft experience. Obviously, here in alpha, hope to be live in the next 12 to 18 months, and think there's going to be great experiences there, great corporate partners. And I won't forget my friend Hrish, Superworld. We're obviously partnered with Superworld. I think it's a great experience too. And the concept of mirror worlds makes a ton of sense in what he's trying to create with overlaps between AR and the real world, and really excited about that and moving forward and owning land there and doing some great initiatives with him as well. So I think there are many great metaverses out there, and hard to choose which one is the best because I think they're all applicable.
I agree, and great points.
I want to mention quickly, if you guys don't mind, investing in Metaverse, just like investing in anything virtual, is a speculative investment. It's quite different from buying a house, or investing in a real world project. That said, it's also an amazing way to get involved early. And, a lot of people are looking to just get a piece of the action right now. I would look at it kind of from a diversification point of view. And if you want to own a portfolio, of different growing metaverse lands, right? So I would look at it from a point of view of traction, like who's buying land, like what kind of brands are buying things in the metaverse, what are they building, are these commercial brands, right? So it's basically the game of numbers, like who's going to get there first and who's going to get, and help develop the metaverse, which is ultimately the community and the brands, right? So I would look at it from that standpoint and create a portfolio and get involved in as many as possible.
And that's a great tidbit of advice there from Yael. And I would agree, casting a wide range for the time being at the initial stages of kind of the growth of metaverses is definitely a smart play. Hrish, do you care to add your insight?
Yeah, I think that ultimately what we are dealing with is an improvement, an enhancement on the technologies that we've been using for many years now. And, I think the ability for people to do things in their daily lives as it applies to, virtuality and physicality is really being engaged here. And, as people think about the various platforms out there, again, I think it comes down to community. And there are various communities out there, and people really gravitate towards those communities based on what they enjoy doing. So if you're someone who likes games, maybe you're going to go towards one. If you're into education, you might go towards another one. I think there's going to be kind of a striation of these worlds based on what people enjoy. At Superworld, I think what we're trying to do is how do we apply all of these concepts, these technologies to people's real life and provide real world utility. That's kind of what our community is about. And we're very open. So if you come in through Superworld, we want to connect you to any world that you want to go to any platform, to any exchange, to any DeFi resource. That's kind of how we see the community that we're building.
Oh, absolutely. And fantastic points. And just speaking about, kind of the virtual and the real world applications and what we're able to achieve right now, similar to, there's festivals currently going on that are real life festivals that also offer a AR and a VR component when you arrive there, certain museums and whatnot. So definitely interesting to see the crossover and, ability to kind of monetize from those different perspectives as well. Offering an art gallery at a museum, renting out your NFTs or something of that nature, definitely options. Something else that I'd like to kind of dive into right now is, again, how people are able to monetize their spaces, their virtual land, or how they're able to be invested without owning real estate within the metaverse. Yael, do you want to kind of lead us off?
Yeah. So I would love to start by saying that the metaverses out there have all different rules in terms of when you can create more land for people to buy, right? What you can build on the land, what kind of constraints you have. Do you have to buy a huge piece of land to buy a huge piece of, to create a huge piece of real estate, or just, and these rules change all the time. And metaverses themselves, some of them are trying to put the data over kind of like a Web3 type of decentralized environment, but a lot of them are kind of creating the rules as they go, and the rules may change, which means if you're buying a piece of land right now for $10,000 in Sandbox, which I think is the minimum right now, $11,000 across different metaverses, you don't know if inherently that will go up in value, right? It will go up in value if there is a scarcity, or if the metaverse itself, grows crazy, or if somebody next to you has, maybe right next to your plot of land, there is another one. So the rules are still out there. So I would think about buying something in the metaverse as a way to get in the game and to use it as digi estate, not real estate. It's a digital estate. It's a commercial asset in the way that it provides advertising. You get presence, you get presence in the metaverse, you get exposure, you get PR. A lot of the companies are buying stuff because of PR. And really, what is a metaverse? It's a place where we have experiences ultimately that bring brands more money, right? The virtual goods market is huge already in games, right? It's like $40 billion or $50 billion right now. And most gamers engaged in metaverse already buy virtual goods. They want to buy more. It makes them engaged more. It's all about advertising. So that's how I look at real estate in the metaverse.
Oh, fantastic points. Love that. Lorne, do you mind touching on that subject as well?
Sure, I'd love to. So, I mean, I think the best example that I can give is really with what we're currently doing in Decentraland with the Fashion Week. So I'm sure most people are aware that, we have Fashion Week coming up March 23rd to 27th. There's going to be about 28 brands coming to the table in pop-up shows, 4 catwalks, music experiences every night, et cetera, et cetera. And so some of the most amazing brands are coming to the table. We on our land, or on our 100 parcels of land, we're going to have 12 ultra luxury brands. And so, kind of to Yael's commentary, we agree that these immersive experiences and this community is extremely important. And we chose that land specifically to buy in the fashion district with the thought process that we could hold an amazing thing with the brand, because we felt, as last year was the ready to play theme and the art theme, which are all going to continue, we felt that fashion was the next theme that was going to occur this year. And you can see it, and you can see how the brands are diving in, and it's crazy, and they're looking for a ton of different experiences. And you see some, to Yael's point, that are just looking at it as an advertising theme, some that are doing NFTs, and some that are even looking at it in a deeper VR experience. So it's really all over the map, and they're all trying to figure out multi-channel ways to sell their goods, whether those are NFTs or real consumer goods.
Fantastic. And Hrish, what do you feel about the subject?
I think that as we are looking at these new mediums in entertainment and technology, and as this technology comes together, I often use the term the Internet of Places. So, if we're moving to immersive computing, spatial computing environments, what we're offering at Superworld or any of these virtual worlds, depending on the environment. In Superworld's case, we're built on top of the real world. So these immersive environments are, again, in our real life, right? We're all in Superworld right now, effectively, right? And so in our case, what we're saying is, if we are in the Internet of Places, you can own these places, right? And if you think of media in general, people understand, oh, I own a YouTube video. That's a piece of content that I'm actually monetizing out there in the world. Imagine if that piece of content was a space, right? And you could add anything into that space, and anyone could add anything into that space. And all of that stuff that you add into that space is monetizing, right? And so in terms of what we're doing at Superworld, again, you can own a piece of land. You don't have to own land if you don't want to, but if you do, you're getting a share of all of the monetization. But there's other ways to get in. You could create NFTs. You could, again, create other content that's monetizing. And so again, I think the opportunity here on the real estate side is to be a stakeholder in any one of these platforms of those spaces that are going to become more and more important.
Oh, fantastic. And great insights from you three. Really appreciate that. I want to just jump in quickly to some audience questions here. We do have a question regarding virtual real estate agents, and do they exist to help prospective buyers and purchasers? And Lorne, I'd like to, lead you off with that question as CEO of Metaverse Group and what you guys are doing in that aspect.
Sure. So we're currently, what has been amazing about this is when we first started on it, we kind of saw that the big brands and big corporations would be very interested. But what it has evolved is all the individuals, and so many, interesting individuals are interested in buying in the metaverse. And so at the end of the day, we believe based on our expertise in all the different metaverses, that we can help those consumers find the right locations and the best locations and locate them beside our developments and other things that we're working on, where we think we can build character and community, and all those other wonderful things. And so, yes, today we are just beginning that virtual real estate advisor piece, and we'll be rolling that out hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and excited to bring that to market and have everyone interact with us on that.
Fantastic. And I was actually reading an article, Hrish, yesterday in regards to Superworld. There are currently some real estate agents within Superworld, from my understanding.
Yeah, so we've gotten a lot of interest from real world physical real estate agents and real world, physical world real estate property developers. Again, I think that our focus, again, is providing real world utility. And that really translates to, how do I do something virtual and get some physical benefit? So that could be an NFT that gives you ownership of a real world property. We did an NFT that, gave the owner access to a luxury club called Custom House in New York and Miami. They're actually doing another sale of another NFT for their luxury memberships at that club. But basically the point of mentioning that is we're looking at this virtual, physical, virtual. And so real world real estate agents kind of understand that market better than anyone because they've been working in the property market for a long time. And so what we're trying to do at Superworld is, provide them with data on our real estate. So that's one of the projects that we're working on with Wolfram Blockchain Labs, which is how do I enable buying and selling decisions on virtual land based on physical land pricing dynamics, right? So if you own a property in Superworld that's in the countryside, but now that they're going to build a mall there, and in the physical world, the property is going up because that mall is being built. And, again, that land in the physical world becomes more exciting. Then those real estate agents that are making transactions in the physical world also can get involved virtually as well. And that's the thing that I think is going to be exciting in the real estate sector in the physical and virtual real estate markets.
Fantastic. No, very, very good points. I have a question for Yael here, specifically about Solidblock and their platform. Is there any use to create a real estate investment trust through Solidblock?
Yes, absolutely. I don't know if necessarily the trust would be the right legal structure for this, but in general, there is a way, obviously, to invest fractionally, and there will be a way to invest fractionally because land right now is already so expensive in the metaverse, and assets are going to be even more expensive, right? Well-developed assets. Whether or not this is going to go according to the rules that we see in the real world real estate, I'm not sure, right? So there are different rules in the virtual environment, mainly because of the popularity and the brands and how these things are going to be interconnected. So that's why it's also really, really exciting, right? We don't have to necessarily follow the same guidelines in the world, in the meta world, right? So the way that you can incorporate what we're doing with Solidblock is, number one, a fractional investment, right? We can provide fractional ownership of a specific building or plot of land or a district, even for a group to invest in. You know, even for a specific group of investors to buy into, right? Maybe a company wants to buy an office to hang out at and offer employees to buy fractions of that office. That's one thing. Another thing is ability to track ownership, right? Let's say that everybody's buying these NFTs that represent ownership in a specific asset. And then, you know, these investors might want to get rental money, right? So some of these meta products will be income generating. So this is where you would also use companies like Solidblock to do record keeping and dividend distribution and ownership tracking, right? So at the end of the day, you'll also want an environment where you are trading this, right? Trading these objects that you own, whether they're real estate or anything else, right? Even art or whatever the NFTs represent, or maybe a different standard of tokens that is going to be used, right? So you'll still need to trade these. So there are exchanges, but then how do you migrate from, you know, this primary offering, the primary sale of an NFT or a fraction of a building to an exchange, right? So basically, companies like us are bridging between that environment, you know, the primary environment to the secondary, right? Keeping the records, keeping the dividends. So that's how you would use Solidblock in general to facilitate the trading aspect, the financial aspect of the real estate.
Fantastic. Hrish, do you want to kind of maybe touch on what Yael was speaking to as well?
Yeah, you know, I think that the financial aspects of what's happening in this market as we look at other technologies and as, you know, DeFi and other protocols get integrated into virtual land, into virtual worlds in general. I think ultimately, you know, again, you know, Lorne and I and others here, you know, come from traditional finance world on the real estate side. And that market is very sophisticated. There's a lot of tools. There's a lot of built-in, you know, capabilities that someone who wants to be active in that market can leverage. And I think over time, the same thing's going to happen here on the virtual real estate side. Is if you're you know, a buyer, owner, renter, seller, an advertiser, and you want to engage in these platforms, I think the tools that are enabled and are going to be available to you over the next 5 years are going to have parallels with the same evolution of tools that we've seen in the financial markets in the traditional finance world. So I think generally that's what I'm really excited about here as we're building and others are building in this space. There's going to be that interoperability of those tools as well. And so, you know, Metaverse Group and tokens.com are really kind of bringing that together. And that's super exciting to see a player that understands the traditional finance world and is bringing those capabilities to the Metaverse.
And I think those are fantastic points and very good, you know, attributes to bring to the Metaverse, just to help guide the traditional, you know, kind of investors and institutions into the Metaverse as they see, you know, Lorne and Hrish, yourself kind of transitioning into the space. So kudos to you guys for kind of leading the way there. We have a question from the audience. So who's the governing body in the Metaverses? And what are they capable of? How does it work? And Lorne, if we could just get kind of your input on that and speak to that subject.
Sure. I mean, it depends between Metaverses. I think as Yael has kind of talked about in a bunch of our other comments. But for example, Decentraland is governed by the DAO, so it's governed by the community, and that means all the token holders and the land holders get a chance to vote on changes with respect to the land and what you can do with it or other items around that. Whereas Sandbox obviously isn't governed by a DAO as a differentiator, as a difference. It's a corporation that's backed by some large venture capitalists as well as others. So they each have slightly different feels and different governing bodies, and it really depends from metaverse to metaverse. I think they're all, you know, super, you know, thoughtful about land values and, you know, not creating deflationary pressures amongst the landholders, because obviously that would cause issues with it. But they are definitely governed in different ways, and therefore act and operate in different manners, which we definitely have seen.
Fantastic. I'm getting quite a few questions in regards to some revenue and business models regarding the space, and you know, I'd like to get Hrish's input and kind of ask him to lead off on that.
Yeah, so you know, I think as the ability to create content and create experiences evolves, I think we're seeing again on the technology side, you know, the advent of AR Kit, AR Core in 2017 and 18, which is now developed now for over the last 5 years. We're seeing, you know, technologies like VR, like WebGL that many platforms are using. And all of these things are enabling content creation in new and novel ways. I think there's a democratization of creating immersive content. You know, the latest iPhone or iPad, you know, enables you to have LiDAR, where you can literally scan an object and turn it into an immersive piece of content. And so on the content creation side, technology is enabling more and more people to do more interesting things with whatever they want to create. And so on the monetization side, additionally, with Web3, NFT technology, which has now really hit mainstream, DeFi, you know, advertising, marketing, gaming, you know, there's a variety of different ways here that anyone can utilize these structures to monetize the content they're creating. So you don't have to create a banner ad anymore. You could create a fully immersive experience that anyone can go into. And in that experience, they can buy NFTs, you know, they can, you know, be involved in something that's AR. They can go into VR, they can go into WebGL. And so the point is that as all of these technologies come together, the ability to create monetization opportunities only goes up exponentially. And so we're going to see, and when you add DeFi to that, and you can add the markets and what we've seen in the traditional world, it's going to get really exciting. So I think over the next 3 to 4 years, you're going to get a variety of ways. We call it live to earn, right? So you've all heard of play to earn. What we're looking at Superworld is how can you take those same token mechanisms and apply them to people's passions in their real life? So how do I take analog activity that you love doing anyway? You know, how do I get Nike to pay for you to go on a run, or Virgin Cruises to pay for you to go on a cruise? So I think there's going to be a lot of interesting ways that monetization is going to move from physical world to virtual and back to the physical, and that's all going to be part of the metaverse and virtual real estate.
Fantastic and great insight. Yael, I know that
add to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead,
all
please.
Right.
Yael?
Yeah. So the metaverses that exist today that allow decentralization, like Sandbox and Decentraland, are smaller than some other metaverses that could be existing in a bit like Meta. Like, you know, if Microsoft creates a metaverse with all its users, right? So think about corporate metaverses that will pop up, just like about 10 years ago, when all of these companies, Facebook, Amazon, jumped on the train to become a wallet, right? They wanted to control payments. This was the trend, right? They wanted to be the financial institution, right? Now everybody's out there to create their own experiences, right? So this is the newest trend. So we have to be very, very mindful about the business models that these companies are also utilizing, you know, for them to make more money, for them to keep, you know, ultimately we create content within the metaverse, right, as users, but ultimately usually corporations keep that data, right? Facebook did say that the metaverse will be created by the community. So, Decentraland and Sandbox are on the right path. And I really love what they're doing with respect to the governance and, kind of giving trust to the community. I think that if we can influence the large corporations to go the Web3 route, it's going to be beneficial for everyone and user privacy as well.
Fantastic. And I would agree with that. And I mean, to Lorne's point earlier, we are seeing some, non-traditional brands from fashion houses and whatnot make the transition into Web3 and the metaverse. Perfect example is obviously the Metaverse Group's Fashion Week walk that they have going on with various fashion houses who are from an old school mindset and not completely familiarized with this Web3 kind of domain as well as the metaverse. So very interesting to see kind of the old school mentality being shifted to this new Web3 model. And Lorne, are you seeing more and more of that happening from various industries?
So clearly the apparel has been the lead industry. I mean, I think we've had numerous conversations with, as you can imagine, sports teams and with entertainment and music. So there are multiple different industries looking at it. Even there's been lots of legal firms, ironically enough, that seem to have been leading their way into the metaverse, which I find interesting because typically they're a little backward thinking. No disparagement to lawyers on the phone.
I agree,
but or more conservative is a better way of putting it. So it's interesting to see that evolution. I mean, there's been lots of talk about working in the metaverse. There was a Gartner report that came out recently that some of you might have seen that suggests that by 2026 we'll all be spending at least an hour a day in the various metaverses. So more and more traction is happening. There's more and more interest in learning about it, and so we get a ton of inbound call. We haven't actually created a sales team or reached out to anyone because the inbound is enough for us to deal with at this point in time.
No, that's fantastic, and it's so encouraging to hear your guys' perspectives and how all these companies are moving to the forefront of these metaverses in the Web3. Obviously, it's important for the future of metaverses, NFTs, crypto, and blockchain technology as a whole. So, I love seeing that transition. I would like to kind of bring up a little bit of traditional real estate kind of aspect. Now, with traditional real estate prices rising drastically around the globe, do you expect to see more investors that are being priced out of traditional real estate bringing their investments into the metaverse? And Yael, I don't know if you want to have any comments on that or any insight on that. Yael, can you hear me? Okay, Lorne. Have you guys seen any transition? Are you projecting a large number of traditional real estate investors transitioning to the metaverse world due to being priced out?
I'm not sure if it's due to being priced out. I think it's more due to interest. Certainly, lots of interest. I think, as suggested earlier, from individuals on a daily basis. But as Hrish pointed out, we've seen lots of corporate. Lots of corporates, enter the space or have just some early stage discussions with large corporate entities that are big real estate players about entering the space, and so it's a little bit all over the place from that perspective. But I don't think it's just because they're being priced out of the market. And frankly, I will say this, that owning a traditional home that provides shelter and a little bit more than the virtual piece of real estate makes sense for you. But the flip side is certainly this is an interesting investment opportunity and provides diversification in your portfolio.
Yeah, we have a lot of clients that want to put their stuff out in the metaverse. Starting from hospitality brands, that's the obvious one. Any shopping malls, residential is probably not on the radar so far because people usually prefer to keep living in their own house, not on the metaverse. But anybody out, almost every single new sponsor that we have a conversation with is interested in the metaverse right now. Some from the PR perspective. And one of the best conversations we had lately was with a company that has an asset on Times Square, and they did a virtual ball drop in the metaverse on New Year's. So that's, in my mind, one of the best examples of, you know, early real estate on the metaverse.
Fantastic. And now, Hrish, just to kind of elaborate on that point, you know, a lot of people, obviously, in the younger generations, again, you know, you're seeing more and more transition to the metaverse space and more interest in the metaverse space. With that being said, what are your guys' kind of projections and outlooks for this year in regards to metaverse investment? Hrish, if you can kind of elaborate on what you guys are seeing.
Yeah, you know, I think the market is looking at, you know, 500 billion, you know, a billion, I should say, 500 million to a billion, you know, kind of activity on the virtual real estate side. Again, which is really, I think, a testament to the fact that there's going to be bigger players getting into this market. There's going to be more of an understanding of some of the real world economics that are available to buyers and owners of real estate. And I think that, you know, society is also, you know, more recognizing the opportunities that are available to live, work, play in virtual environments in ways that, you know, potentially enhance the things that they're already doing and enable them to do things that they're not able to do in real world physical environments. So back to the comments that were made earlier, you know, why are traditional players looking to get into this space is, you know, I think that this really complements a lot of the things that they do in the real world. If they're a real world developer, if they're a real world, you know, physical land owner, they're able to do things virtually utilizing technologies, especially with Superworld being that we're mapped on top of the real world, really kind of has that, you know, physical world, virtual world interplay. And so I think that a lot of those same inflection points are going to be present here as some of the, you know, things that we've been talking about for the last year or the last few years for some of us become more tangible. And as, you know, others really realize that this is here to stay. You know, it's kind of like when you look at the early crypto market, you know, once people really understood that this wasn't a fad, that there were going to be, you know, more and more innovation here, that people were really making real money in some of these areas, I think you're going to see, you know, dramatic growth and interest around virtual real estate. And that, and again, that's our goal, is to really provide that, you know, gateway to people to be able to get into these technologies, other virtual worlds, what we're doing, other crypto, DeFi. I think this whole space is, you know, ripe for growth. And I think virtual real estate is a way to become a stakeholder in all of that growth. And so that's why it's going to become more and more compelling as people realize that.
Agreed. And in my traditional real estate background and being a traditional real estate developer, that's where I'm trying to bridge the gap with the old school mindset of those older developers and builders, and try and show them the value of the metaverse and what we're able to do, and kind of the bridges we're able to gap, and the worlds we're able to cross through the use of metaverse and, you know, marketing through the metaverse and whatnot. So definitely interesting, guys. I appreciate everyone's valuable input in our discussions today. I think we may have time for one more question, and I don't know if someone wants to answer this. Can someone explain the relation between Ethereum property land that we purchase and what happens to the value of the land as ETH decreases? Lorne, do you want to touch on that?
Sure. I think there's two components to that question. So, and it as ETH decreases, obviously the value in a currency perspective, you know, the value of the land decreases. Having said that, there isn't necessarily a correlation between the value of the land and the currency price. And so what I mean by that is just because ETH has went down, it doesn't mean your value of land has went down. But if you convert back to a fiat currency, that's where you'll see the change in the price perspective. And so what we've found and seen, certainly in our experiences, is that correlation is not that strong at this point in time, and which is a positive thing because it shows that the value of the land stands on its own.
And great points. And that's a fantastic response to that. And Yael, are you available for a comment on that? I know Yael is having a little bit of technical difficulties, so maybe we'll transition to Hrish. And now, Hrish, in terms of the value of Ethereum versus the property value in Superworld, how does that correspond? And how would you speak to that?
Yeah, so I mean, just going into the practicality of it, with us, every plot unpurchased is 0.1 ether, and so if the price slightly reduces, if you're buying fiat and converting it into ether, then you're able to get in at a lower price. Now, if you already own land and the price of ether is reduced, you can just reprice your land and adjust for whatever pricing you want to, again, sell your land for or list your land for. Ultimately, it's a currency utilized to, again, transact on the platform. We're moving to a token as well in the next 3 or 4 months. So there's going to be other ways to transact in Superworld. And again, also our philosophy is we're blockchain interoperable. So we're integrating with Solana. We'll be integrating with Polygon. Again, back to the original comment about communities. All of these communities have preferences for what crypto they're using, whether they're even using just fiat and want to transact with fiat. And so what we want to do is, again, make that really seamless. And that's our goal. It's, wherever you want to transact with whatever currency, we want to make it as easy as possible. So those fluctuations that you see in a variety of currencies, again, they're going to be a little bit less important as the ability to, again, transact across currencies becomes more available.
Fantastic. And that's a great point that you bring up, just the offering, as many lines of, tokens, fiat currency, whatever it may be, to get people involved, and not limiting them through a wallet or a token, whatever it may be, to purchase that specific piece of land or get involved in metaverse real estate. So fantastic. I love to hear that. Guys, we have maybe 2 more minutes left. So Lorne, I'd like to kind of maybe leave the discussion off with, where do you see virtual real estate heading and the metaverse heading in the next 1 to 5 years?
So I think it's, obviously more and more people are going to get involved. We're going to see more and more individuals get involved and own land across the various metaverses. We're going to see more corporations and brands. And we all as are going to spend more time in the metaverse. And so whether it's an AR or VR experience, I think that's where we're going to evolve to, probably more practically an AR experience, at least on a more frequent or long-term basis. But certainly VR experiences are going to be part of it as well. And I think we're going to be spending more and more time. And so, whether you take the Gartner report that suggests an hour in the next 4 years, or whether you take others that suggest longer periods of time, I think we're all going to be involved with it. And I think it is the next generation internet, which is really exciting and makes this a lot of fun, because we have a clean slate as people and as individuals to create amazing experiences.
Absolutely. And to your point, the AR aspect, plenty of, Google's coming out with new glasses, AR, as well as Apple. I'm sure we'll see more brands bridge the gap between, reality and AR. And I mean, Superworld's doing that right now within their app, which is fantastic and cool to see too. So I'm very interested to see where Superworld's heading. Hrish, if you can kind of give us a little, segue out of this.
Yeah, again, I think on our side, this is going to be a year of building. And there's a lot of, different, I would say, very specific things that our super citizens want to build in Superworld. So, you get a government like Barbados that wants to build an embassy in Superworld. I think Lorne just mentioned, the big fashion push that they're interested in. If you're an artist, you want to create NFTs and put them in real world locations like we did in Miami. And so what's the beauty of this is when you're able to get people that are galvanized and have very specific things that they want to do in the platform. For us, it's a very prescriptive roadmap, right? So we know what people want to build. And so for us now, it's building time. And also there's a pretty clear dotted line to what, Sandbox has done and what Decentraland is doing and others. And, so I think there's a lot coming in terms of the ability to create anything, discover anything, and then adding those monetization potential when you add tokenomics to all those things as we launch a token. So it's going to be a very exciting year. 2022 for virtual real estate is just the beginning. This is going to be the year that people realize what virtual real estate is. So it's been an honor to be here and be able to help kind of, talk through some of these things. So, pleasure.
No, fantastic, guys. And I just want to thank you again, two leaders within this space, and you guys are the driving force, within this future. So looking forward to see what, what this year has planned for us and you guys and the metaverse and virtual real estate. So again, I'd like to thank GDA Capital for hosting the Metaverse Summit. And I'd like to thank our audience in Airmeet as well as Decentraland for joining us today. And gents, Yael as well. Fantastic insight and input. Great conversation, guys. And thanks again.
Thank you.